Do you ever daydream of being cool or charismatic? Or maybe going up to a girl and saying just a few lines like James Bond does and getting her number and she super duper likes you, all smiling and shit. Or maybe even displaying excessive acts of dominance like beating up your college bullies 1v20 like you're Bruce Lee. Well, if you've had these fantasies, it's likely that you have a Tyler Durden. You have a shadow self, as the psychologist Carl Jung would call it, and this is a result of suppression. You didn't do something. Maybe you were supposed to say something really cool in class, but then you suppressed it because, you're fearing that people may judge you and then it may come out wrong and then people won't like you afterwards, and then it gets suppressed. And then that just keeps building and building and building and building until, you get to the point where you become schizophrenic like Fight Club. But in real life, it's more likely that you become a school shooter instead of getting an actual Tyler Durden in real life. If you think about it, the only difference between me and you and the guy from Fight Club, the narrator, even though it's a movie, is that he actually took the fault and ran with it. So, in this video, I'll be showing you 6 things that Tyler Durden himself actually does with agree. And these 6 things are here to show you a way to self-destruct in a way that kills your current self, that's causing you all of this numbness, this comfortable but dullness, and project you towards a life that you actually want to remember, a life that is thrilling and fulfilling. All of this, of course, without causing mayhem to the world, because 1, that's a fucking movie. 2nd, that guy in the movie, the narrator, the main character, he doesn't actually have any family, he doesn't have purpose for work, he doesn't have any habits to channel his Tyler Durden into, except from maybe buying IKEA furniture. But that's just like a form of masturbation that everyone has. And just in case you don't believe I'm qualified to show you these 6 things, maybe I should dress up as Tyler Durden or have some punch marks around my face. Most of these 6 things actually come from other people, more established, successful psychologists, Carl Jung, Jordan Peterson and Robert Greene, and I've used all of these personally. So I used to be able to go through a day at school without saying a single word. I would literally walk into school, wear a mask, go into the toilets, fix my hair, make sure it's exactly at the same point that I walked to school with. So self-aware of my body language when I'm walking through the hallway, judgments from other people, overthinking about the girl that sat next to me, thinking about, how should I move my hand next? How should I look? Where should I look? Afraid to even ask the teacher a simple question because I'm scared of attention. And to get even worse, getting out push-upped by the popular girls. In a fitness course when we're doing physical education, which is basically just a class where you do physical activity, right? And we just go around this entire sports hall with all of these exercises laid out. And to add something worse, there was another popular girl that sat in front of us conveniently with a bench literally there in front of us doing push-ups, and I don't know, her arm was broken or some shit, and she's obviously sitting there. I can't do any more push-ups, so I'm like there on the floor. She makes fun of me. And all of this, now that I think about it, it actually contributed to a lot of energy draining. A 13 to 14-year-old child, young, energetic, growing in the midst of puberty, I shouldn't really be this tired, right? But I'm guessing you can start to picture what drains my energy. It's the inability to fulfill myself. I find that if I speak out more, break through the walls of doubt, that I come back home energized, happy, fulfilled.
And so, if you're feeling oppressed at work, or you're oppressed in your life, or you're oppressing yourself, then you got to notice that you're feeling oppressed. Then you have to notice that you're feeling resentful and angry and bitter, and maybe even like Cain in the story of Cain and Abel, because Cain is sort of the archetypal bitter man. And then you have to decide what it is that you need to do in order to remove from yourself that bitterness, and that usually means that there's something that you have to say.
Self-destruction has 2 components to it. One is the breaking of your current identity, and this is basically what you see yourself as. So for example, if you're an entrepreneur and you see yourself as only able to make 10k per month, you try to make more, but then you can't really make more. You just stay at 10k per month because maybe you had a good month and you're getting lots of sales, but then you slack off at the end of the month because you see yourself as a 10k per month guy. Or maybe you see yourself as incapable to talk to anyone. Your social skills are really bad, but then you hide that with, I'm gonna work, I'm a grinder, I'm gonna wait for my future wife, so now I don't need to talk to women, I don't need to socialize. All these friends around me, they're low quality, none of them get me, none of them are going to the gym, none of them are working on their own business, none of them are on self-improvement. People call this the persona, people call this the loser identity, but I don't think we should name it the loser identity because it's been there from the start. Its whole purpose was to protect us from getting shamed, from getting embarrassed, from getting hated by the people around us. It was built by ourselves so that we didn't get hurt too bad. But unfortunately, this protection has to go because it's doing us more harm than good. It's overprotecting us and it's stopping us from venturing out to the deep dark, scary new opportunities. And second, breaking the mold other people have made for you. So for example, the people around you, your friendship group, the class at your school, they've all made a mold for you. So for example, if you've been sitting and being a quiet guy for a little while because, I don't know, for a while you just had some bad mental health, and now they all see you as a quiet guy. But then what if you're actually a charismatic guy deep inside? But then these people have placed this introvert mold on you. And whenever you try to break out and reveal your true charismatic self, people will be like, oh, why are you so chatty today? And so knowing this, we can self-destruct in two ways. One is by facing your fears, and Jordan Peterson calls this facing the dangerous and evil dragon that's looking you straight in the eyes. Because most of us are scared of sacrificing the current good. So for example, if a girl smiles at you, you don't want to fuck it up, right? Because she smiled at you, and let's say you've never gotten a girl to smile at you. You're now scared to go and ask her out because you don't want to ruin the current good, her smiling at you, for a potential she doesn't smile at you. But then you might also get a girlfriend. That's the unknown. That's the fear that you have to conquer. And the second way you can do this is by killing your pride in who you are. So for example, how I did this was recently I went back to school from a 1-week holiday, and I decided to approach my lessons and my social life in my classrooms with a different mindset. I decided to try something weird out, and it's saying that I'm nothing and I'm here to experience. I'm nothing, I'm here to improve. These people don't know me, they've forgotten all about me, they don't really care, because truthfully I don't think they give a shit. And so it'd be wrong to approach this lesson with a big G type of attitude, like I'm responsible for being charismatic, I'm responsible for telling insane stories, I'm responsible for answering the teacher in weird charismatic ways to make everyone laugh. No, I'm gonna kill all of that and be there from ground zero, so that you can venture out in new ways and discover more things and more ways to become charismatic. With these in mind, I want to show you 6 things that help you do all of these. And if you can slowly incorporate all of these habits, I believe you'll live a much better life. So, the first thing is probably one of the most helpful things I've done in a while, especially when I was like in a rut. So have a blank piece of paper, split it down the middle, hell yes, hell no, and then on the back is maybe. And so what I want you to think about right now is the hell yes and hell no. We'll talk about the maybe later, right? Hell yes is everything that you want to do and everything that you are doing right now in your life that is fulfilling you, that makes you happy, basically. And to give you some examples of things that maybe you want to do is maybe going on an adventure, maybe someone you want to date. For me personally, it was horse riding, going on a run, taking up a martial art, to consistently meditate, and also to experience this Top Gun Maverick scene on the beach with my boys. So if you've never seen that movie and you don't get it, just imagine a beach scene where it's so fun and you have the song I Ain't Worried by One Republic playing, and everyone's having fun, it's sunny, everyone's, jacked, muscular, and you're throwing around the American football, and it's super fun.
Oh, and I just wanted to say that when I made this yes or no sheet and I put down I want to go to the beach and have fun with the boys, I didn't actually have the boys. Like, I didn't have a lot of friends. I only had one close friend that was also on self-improvement. But guess what happened, bro? After a few months of doing actionable steps towards this goal of mine, this hell yes of mine, I actually achieved it the other day. Went bouldering at first, and then I went to the beach, and then we ate Italian together, which was pretty nice.
And if you genuinely can't think of anything, just think of the fantasies you're getting. Think back in your school day. Think back at the moments where you want to get out as soon as possible. One thing could be, 1v20, all of your high school bullies. And what is that caused by? That's caused by bullies getting picked on, wanting to show that you're badass, wanting to show that you're worthy of respect. And what action would suit that fantasy the most? You want to take up a martial art. And that would probably fulfill you, make you have more self-confidence, and prop your chest up, keep your chin high, and probably make people bully you less because you are self-confident now. You're not easy to pick on. Now, for the hell no section, I want you to write everything that is draining you of energy, everything that you want fixed. This, using the example from before, could be getting bullied at school, hell no. Or it could even be a bad habit, maybe a social media binging. Just everything you want to change. Toxic relationships. And these are probably the things that made you click on this video. The things that make you want to unfuck your life. And finally, the best part at the back, maybe this is probably the most effective part, because the things that are in maybe, these are the things that take up the most time. These things are just meh. These things are comfortable. These things are maybe responsibilities that your mum gives you that aren't necessarily taking energy away from you, but also isn't making life terribly good as well. And to give you an example from myself is spending the whole day with my mum. So I don't get to spend a lot of quality time with my mum a lot because she's working a lot. And I feel that it was sort of a son's responsibility to spend quality time with my mum, right? But it got to a point where it was spending a little bit too much time, and not to mention that time wasn't quality, because from waking up, guess what I was doing? I ate breakfast with her, and usually I don't eat breakfast because I haven't really earned it. I like to fast in the morning and my brain's clearer, and that was just killing one of my basic principles. Because the principle here is, if you change your ways, change your rules, stop doing the things that make you happy, stop doing the things that fulfill your life just to please a woman. Because I thought rationally, I don't see my mum much and I want to be a good son, that I spend time with her. But no, if I do work in the morning and only spend a couple of hours in the afternoon or evening with her, the back of my head isn't focused on, oh shit, I still have that to do. Oh shit, I have this task to do. And from experience, this change, it's honestly made that quality time actually quality.
Now, you may think that Tyler Durden doesn't do this. He doesn't actually get out a piece of paper to write down all of the hell yes and hell no. And you're right, he doesn't do that. He just knows what is right to do. It's him. It's his identity to know the hell yes and the hell no. He does it just like that. It's his instinct. It's him. He is the hell yes.
So as you probably know, a classical therapy session is the therapist sits on his office chair and then you sit directly in front of him, and he's like, so how does that make you feel? From experience and from also listening to a bunch of podcasts like Chris Williamson, I found that works probably for women. Women can do that conversation, but for men need something to do and then have chat on top. So Chris Williamson, he says that men talk much better, have much more therapeutic talking sessions with their mates when they are working on something. And the example he gave was working on a lawnmower. how to fix this fucking lawnmower, and then the men start talking about, oh, how's your wife? Oh, the relationship with my wife is really bad. And that's how they start talking. And my personal example is going to the gym with my friend, and maybe I've had a day where a girl was like doing some weird stuff. I'm not really sure what to make of that conversation I had with a girl, and then I go into the gym and talk to my friend about it, and it gets brainstormed. Sometimes there's an outcome, sometimes there's sympathy, sometimes there's bullying for me not doing something, sometimes there's accountability. And having these male therapy sessions, I think, is a key to a very, very fulfilling life, because you get to vent out all of these feelings, and most of the time your friend actually regrounds you, anchors you down to the ground, and solves that problem with you, especially if you've done something cringe, embarrassing. If you have a good friend, he can make you realize that those things don't actually matter with logic, because your mind's like fucked, right? This is a common phenomenon amongst Carl Jung, Jordan Peterson, Robert Greene, the author of the 48 Laws of Power. They all talk about this concept. And a way you can incorporate your shadow, stop having all of those weird fantasies, is by maybe being an influencer like this, maybe doing what I'm doing and speaking out all of the lessons to my work, sharing all the lessons that I've learned, my stories. Or you can go take up a martial art like boxing to, like beat up your bullies, like mentally. Think of the boxing bag as your bullies at school, the people that pick on you. And that's a way you can channel that energy to something positive, instead of just like holding it in there and becoming a school shooter. Another example from myself would be my mum's friends doubting me, doubting my abilities to retire, my mum to work hard because I said I wasn't going to go to university, and they were like, oh my god, you're such a bad son, why is your son like this? But then they don't know I do what I do, they don't know the work I do, they don't know the habits I do, they don't know how hard I work. And that, quite frankly, disrespect makes me work harder. I channel that into my work. Getting bullied, channel that into your martial arts, your gym. Getting rejected by a girl, channel that into the gym, channel that into men's grooming, channel that into cold approach, channel that into improving your charisma. And so just think, what could you integrate? What could you channel? What pain, what feelings are you feeling right now? What fantasies are you having right now? And what actions could they be paired with? At my old school, I looked up a lot of shit about charisma. I studied a lot about body language. I read books like 48 Laws of Power, How to Win Friends and Influence People, but I never actually got to use a lot of it. But then as I moved to college, because no one knew who I was in these new classes, I broke free, and I experienced something very, very weird. And I talked about this in an old video, but essentially I got treated as if I was attractive. For once. Girls were looking at me, girls were staring at me for once. And I could actually tell charismatic stories without fearing, oh, does this make me look under-sigma? Does this make me look beta? Does this make me not look badass and cool? Does this align with my identity that other people think I am, this silent guy? No, I could just speak however I liked. I could speak how much I want, how much I liked, with whatever body language. And that allowed me to break free of my old identity. And now I can confidently say that I am pretty fucking good at storytelling, charisma, body language. Not the best, but definitely pretty fucking good. And not to put external validation in the spotlight because it's like materialistic or whatever, I make the class laugh, not in a class clown type of way, but in a charismatic way that tells the class about my story, and in turn that actually makes a lot of the girls in one of my particular classes like me a lot. And so the moral of the story here is, You don't have to blow up your apartment to lose everything and do anything. You don't have to completely 180 your career, your job, your friends. All you actually have to do to mimic the lose everything, do anything is a very, very simple change in environment. It could be honestly joining a new club. It could be joining a martial arts club where no one knows who you are, and then you go and practice your charismatic skills. In my case, I was very, very fortunate to move into a college, and especially with classes with loads of women in them. And the main thing is, it's new. People are new. They literally don't know who I am. And so they don't have any preset expectations for who I am. That I'm not. So acting on your Durden, what does that mean? Well, it's like it says, except if you get these fantasies of extreme matters like seducing a girl, like we've said before, not those. We want to act on the things that are actually doable and are possible. You know what, I'll just give you an example. So I'm in the classroom and I have this teacher. Thank God I have this teacher because she keeps on asking like open-ended questions. She makes the lesson really interesting. She doesn't just like talk at you and like play a video and talk in a monotone voice. No, this teacher gives open-ended questions and literally sometimes asks the weirdest questions that aren't even related. So this makes my subconscious make funny jokes, make charismatic stories to tell, make interesting points to make authentic points to say. And one notable time she asked, like, write down 4 things that describe yourself, and we were doing some psychology thing. I don't exactly remember the topic, but 4 things that you would describe yourself as. And then I wrote myself as disciplined, a prodigy, and hedge. I didn't care what anyone else thought because, as I mentioned on the previous point, I lost everything. I'm in a new college. No one knows who I am. I can express myself. So that made it a whole lot easier, right? So I wrote down all these things and the girls on my table started to cause a ruckus because they noticed that I put down hench on the whiteboard. Girls started chatting about it. It's like, hench, oh my God. And then once the teacher picked up on it, it spread all across the entire classroom. And it was pretty nice. But you get the point, right? Whenever you think of something, say it. If it's going to be interesting. It is going to be difficult at first, and you don't have to do the entire thing. If you think of an elaborate story that you're going to tell everyone in the entire classroom and everyone's going to laugh, everyone's going to love you afterwards, when you actually go and try and do that, and especially if you've left it for like 15 seconds, the teacher's still going on, kind of ruminates in your mind, right? It goes into your conscious brain and then it gets harder to say. And if you do break through the wall, even after like a minute, of it ruminating in your brain and making it worse, your voice just trembles a little bit. So a way to combat that is 1, say it immediately, but if you can't do that, do the bare minimum basically. So don't tell as much of a story or tell the story very quickly. And you don't have to body language, maybe just sit like this, in your chair like this, and then say a few lines, summarize the story. And that will still count as a point and you'll still add to your confidence. And then the next time you do it, it'll get easier and then it get easier and then get easier. And then eventually you'll get used to saying abrupt, interesting things in your class. Now, to give you another example, let's go back to when I was in my old school and I was in isolation. Isolation, if you don't know what that is, it's basically there's levels of punishment in school, right? So first, I got late. I was late a good couple of times to my morning session of tutor time, which is basically you sit there and do nothing. And then since I was late a couple of times, I got detention, real detention. So it's like after school 1 hour. But then I didn't go to that because who's going to go to that because I have fucking weights to lift. All right. I don't have time for that shit. So I don't go to that. And then I get put into isolation. Isolation is basically where you're there for the whole school day. You enter in school 8:30 and you basically have your 2 periods in there, break, 2 periods in there, break, 2 periods in there, in the same room with a bunch of fucking autistic kids. And so first time going in there, I'm seeing all of the delinquents of the school. and there's a guy in the corner that says, "Get out of my head," every 5 minutes. I'm not even joking. That's literally what he did for every single 5 minutes. That's what he did. But regardless, I actually enjoyed this time a lot, and I was just reading the book for my English assignment, In Spectacles, that's the book. And when it was time for break, we went and, got all the stuff from the canteen earlier than everyone else would, and then we go back to our room and then have our break. We just like fucking walk around, arm wrestle, chuck rulers at each other. And I just got the thought in my head, why not do some push-ups? It was an urge, right? But then, obviously my brain came in with some cringe. Oh, that's cringe. What if they judge you? I didn't give a shit because I was so like brain dead from reading that book. I just wanted to do some push-ups. Authentic. You have to remember that, right? You have to get this feeling from yourself. Don't just do something because someone else said it was cool. You have to think of this shit yourself. So I started doing push-ups, and then it turns out those kids in isolation actually went to the same gym as me, and they said, "Oh my god, that is the hench guy." But more importantly, this time I actually felt a sense of accomplishment, a sense of fulfillment, because I did push-ups, and that kind of like loosened up my body from sitting there for literal hours. So what is backbone? It's saying no to things you are absolutely against. It's by sticking to your rules as a man. There is a deep unfulfillment you get when you comply with everything. But if you can't take a detention after school because you have shit to do, you have to walk back home, you have to eat, and then you have to go gym, you have to make sure your macros are right because you're gonna get hench. Obviously don't go to detention. Because what if you're Mr. Olympia? Are you going to stay behind at school and miss a workout? Think about that. If you were a super ambitious, hard-headed, belief-driven, I'm going to be the next Mr. Olympia, are you going to stay behind at school for an extra hour and a half? And you don't have to be a dick about this, right? You don't have to go argue with your teachers if it's unreasonable. If the teacher's genuinely a nice guy, don't do that. But you have to learn how to say no to things, because this will get you so much more fulfillment and satisfaction in life. For example, if you have a timid kid that's, doesn't really say much in class, is known for being like a little bit submissive, the teacher's gonna ask him to stay behind in class. And he's like, no. And then the teacher's gonna insist that he stays behind in class. And then he stays behind in class. But if you go ahead and say no, and you truly believe no because you have shit to do, then you have so much of a higher chance to actually get to leave the class. You're like, no, I got shit to do. No, I'm busy. And then you start walking away, and chances are you'll get let out early. Now, the last and final point, I know I said there was going to be 6. This is a bonus point. And I'm going to make this one really short because, truth be told, I'm a 16-year-old and I don't know much about this. And this is purpose. Having a purpose is like having an anchor. It's something to do on a daily basis. It's something to base your life around, your food, your eating times, instead of just lying around there, watching a movie, then going to a friend's party, watching TikTok, but then you realize that I should have gone to a football practice, I should have gone to gym. It just basically prevents you from being lost. It keeps you on a straight trajectory towards something. And that feels extremely good because you're like centered, you're more grounded, instead of going like here and then here and then here with the parties and then the fucking dopamine. But now I think my purpose is somewhere between the words with retire my mum, provide value, YouTube channel, document my life. It's somewhere around there. And the more I work, this is a general rule for myself, the more I work, the more fulfilled and happy I am. This isn't the best advice because I'm 16 years old. I know nothing about life. But try everything out with the hobbies, trial and error. That's how I discovered this right now with the YouTube. I'm not saying a business model is your purpose. I'm not saying that. But Of all of the business models, drop shipping, drop servicing, SMMA, that I've all tried, even a small cooking business with my mum online that we ship, food to people's houses. I've tried all of that, and this is the most fulfilling. And maybe that's because some aspect of my deep purpose is in this business. Maybe it's trying to improve people's life. Maybe one day you have the urge to go horse riding, go try that for a while, and maybe that becomes your purpose, to ride horses. And also, just another thing with purpose, a lot of people get this sense of purpose from negative trauma experiences, past trauma. So for example, me with my family, I didn't suffer as near as much poverty as my family, but I was there when the house was like bricks and a sheet of metal. There was a flood in the house that literally went up to like a knee height of average people nowadays. The flood literally came into the house, and it was like all murky water, and the lights went out, and my mum told me to stand on the door frame area that's elevated above the floor and be quiet and be good. And I think I just got a couple of traumas from things like that, and now I'm doing everything possible to make sure my family doesn't suffer again. If you've watched this video all the way to the end, it's likely that you want to grab life by its balls now, right? But what if I told you there is more things holding you back than you realize, even in the people that you think are helping you? And there's this really good video. I think it's a really good video because it's my video. And if this sounds interesting and you want to uncover the secrets of Iman Gadzhi and Hamza, because I have some rare information about Iman Gadzhi in that video, and it's just influences and their effects on your self-improvement and how they take away the self from your self-improvement. And if that sounds interesting, I'll leave that link in the description below, and it might actually be on the screen right now. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, bro. In a bit.